Earlier this year, I turned 30. And while most women sort of freak out about turning 30, they start to have a midlife crisis, if you will. I did not and have not had a midlife crisis about turning 30. In fact, I've been looking forward to this age for at least the last decade, but maybe even a little bit before then. We can blame a little bit on that on the movie 13 Going on 30. 13 Going on 30 was a pivotal movie in my life, and it made me look forward to the age. Not only did that movie make me look forward to turning 30, but so did the idea that when you are 30, people will have a sort of natural respect for you because you're 30. You're not a child anymore, and you're not in your dumb 20s anymore. You're 30. Which is great when people know your age. But when they don't know your age and they're just basing you off your looks, if you look younger than you are, which I do believe I still look younger than I am, they will treat you the age that they assume you to be. And that's a random tangent for the day. Now, why am I making this video? Not to rant about being 30 or being assumed to be younger than 30 and all of that, though I could, because it's a soapbox. I can get on soapboxes and not get off of them. There are 3 goals I have with this. 1, I am learning about myself that if there's something I want to do, I can get really lost and muddled in the small choices, small goals of the big goal. I can see big goals really well, and I can see a few of the smaller goals to get there. But the small is where I get really muddled. I've learned that about myself in my 30 years of life. So I have a goal. I have a new media company that I started just about a week ago, and on Mondays when I really started to work on that media company. Over this last 5-6 days, I've prayed on a clarity for the goal of the media company. What is it that I need to be focusing on? What kind of material should I be doing? Because I can get really lost in what other people have to say about things. And then I get lost on my own. I can't always hear the whisper of God's word or even the discernment that He has placed within me, the wisdom that He gives me, because I'm so distracted by everybody else. So the last few days I've worked through that kind of stuff, and I've tried to really focus in on and just pray that my ears are in tune with God's whisper, God's spirit. I know I need to make small goals. I know a lot of what has kept me from making videos full time has been myself, in that the gear that I have and the help I have to make the films that I want to make is limited. And before, I've always been a very resourceful woman and little girl, using what I have to make what I need and what I want. Then you just kind of get into oh, well, I don't have that really cool camera, so I can't get that shot, or my tripod is broken. Literally, this camera that I'm using has a quick release that is Gorilla Glued to it, because another quick release is screw broke off into it and I could not get it out, so I just Gorilla Glued this one on, but I don't know where the tripod that goes to this quick release is located, so you're kind of sitting on a tripod, and I've just tried to level it out as best I can, and I'll fix the rest of it in post. But the tripod itself is held together by one of the legs is held together by a paper clip. This tripod that is holding, I'll swivel you, the ring light is broken in like 2 places. But this tripod is broken. It's sort of just held on very barely. So I've let my perfectionism hold me back from making videos. So I've worked in video production for about 10 years, professionally, but for about 6 of that, I've been a stay-at-home mom for the majority. It's the primary focus I've had. But anyways, I have let my perfectionism, my idea of I'm not able to make the films that I want to make, so why even make any film at all, hold me back. Yeah. So I have let myself, or I've made myself stop making films because of this idea that if I can't make the film exactly the way that I want to make it, or then why even make it? And really, it's more of if I can't make the film with the tools that I want, the fancy tools that I want, then why even make anything? And that is such a disservice to my own creativity that has been given to me by God, and the talent that I have in making films and making stories, visual stories. It's a disservice to the love and passion that I have for this field. It's a disservice to anybody who would relate to the stories that I have in me to tell, that I have covered on a notes app to tell. I've gotten to a point with it that I feel like, I believe it's in Romans, where Paul is talking about how God says that he gives people up to the desires of their heart, or to the desires of their mind. And that I'm facing that when it comes to visual storytelling, because I've tried and then I stopped for 15 years now, at least 15 years. The earliest video I can find on YouTube is from 2009. But I've been doing camera stuff for a lot longer than that. So I feel like I'm at that point where God's like, okay, either you do what I'm calling you to do, or don't. But if you don't, then I'm letting you go and do the thing that you have actually chosen to do. That is not what I want to hear. That's not what I want. I want to make films. I have a deep desire in my heart to make films and to talk about films and to teach films, and all the gear that I do have. I have a lot of sort of random gear that I found at estate sales and thrift stores, randomly. Not looking for this stuff at all, but it pops up and there it is. And So, you know, I started this by talking about how I'm 30, and I'm learning a lot about myself over the last decade. The things, the way that I operate, the way that my brain is, what tendencies I have, what temptations, all that kind of stuff I'm learning. And one thing I know about myself is that I am not that great at all of the small little details. So I'm working on making smaller goals for myself instead of saying I'm going to make a video every week for a year. That's a lot of work. And then I get overwhelmed with the things from life and feel really bad about not being able to do the goal that I set out. I've also kept myself from making films because I have 3 children that I don't want online until they are old enough to decide that they want to be online. And I have a sort of age that I think is the most appropriate. My kids cannot think long term. They're young. Anyway, I don't want them online. That's the point of that. And it's taken me a while to have the tools that would make it easier for me to mask their identity in the shots that they're just there, because my kids are there. I'm a stay-at-home mom. They're there. It's taken a while for technology to be embedded, because before, when I was first sort of starting this and had my son and my oldest son, I was gonna have to send it into Motion or After Effects and make the keyframes on a mask to blur his identity, and or film around him, which neither of those worked. I still don't have 13 hours to edit a few frames in a video or a film. I don't have that right now. But now technology has gotten it to where I can just use an app on my phone and blur them out, and it's great. Good? Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got all colors.
There you go. Yeah?
Yeah.
So as I was saying, technology has made it advances to where I can now make videos and quickly add a tracking blurred image, which helps out immensely. Helps me to overcome that. Well, if my kids are going to be in there and I just don't have the time to put a tracking shot of blurring their faces, because it takes a long time to do that. So making small goals, not worrying about if my kids are there because I can hide their identity, or their faces at the very least, and not wanting to continue to be a disappointment to God. Those are 3 things I'm going to combat. So the first one, making smaller goals, and I'm making a small goal of producing a video every day for the next week. That's it. For the next week. Part of that is to get back into the habit of creativity. There's a great book. I'll mention it. I've mentioned it before on my shorts, but throughout this week, we can talk about that book by The Creative Habit by Twyla Tharp. So I'm getting back into the habit of creativity and getting back into storytelling, especially visual storytelling. Taking a note from a filmmaker that I do look up to, Casey Neistat, and trying to figure out what the story is for that day, and documenting it. I wrote a post on LinkedIn talking about that being a habit to make to increase your storytelling ability, to document something from each day, your mundane life. Beginning, middle, beginning, mid. Basic structure of a story. So I'm going to make a video every day for the next 7 days. It's a lot more manageable in my brain than a video once a week for a year, or however long, to infinity, I guess. And then after the week, I will reevaluate and see what the next step is. Oh, the biggest part. I don't want to be a disappointment to God. God gave me the gift of storytelling, of seeing movies in my brain, of loving to tell stories. He's given me inspiration for a lot of movies. And he continues to bless it by bringing me into a space that has camera gear for very cheap. Like this gimbal. I showed it in my last video. I got this from Goodwill. I was just there looking for something completely different. Just also perusing. It was in a cart on top with like a bunch of other random stuff. I am one of the very few people in this town that I live that can identify this. Couldn't really tell the brand, but I know what this is. Half price, yada yada. Anyways, part of today's goal is to figure this thing out. Getting it balanced, getting it turned on and working, so that I can use this. So that's what's gonna happen this week. I'm gonna make a video every day, get back into the groove of storytelling, get back into the groove of editing, and have fun with it. So let's get on with the day. I've been up for a very long time.